Now, Cara, if we move on to Essendon, because clearly they're sort of progressing along their process. We know the 4 names that they've whittled it down to: Murray Davis, Jamie Graham, Mark McVeigh, and James Hird. Lost the footy boss this week, who stepped down, who, of course, was an ally of Brad Scott's. It should only be a couple more weeks, if not another week, before they finally land on somebody.
Oh, I think it'll be. I reckon it wouldn't be surprised if it was next week.
And who do you think is the front runner? I've heard that Jamie Graham has really impressed in his presenting, but what are you hearing in terms of...
Laura, I can't call it. I can't call it. I heard Ross Stevenson on the rumour file a few weeks ago first say that James Hird has got the job. Then I heard him say that James Hird is offered to coach next year for free. I'm not sure how that exactly works. I don't think it would be for free, but there might be ways in which he's paid. I'm not sure. I've heard Dean Solomon. We still don't know whether he's going to put his hand up. Tom Morris, who clearly has a relationship with James Hird from when they worked at Channel 9 together last year, believes that Mark McVeigh is a favourite. If he had to call it, that's what he said on Agenda Setters on Tuesday night. And I heard Luke Hodge extol the virtues of Murray Davis and say, for what Essendon need, Murray Davis is your man. I think we've got a president who has come in and made a lot of big decisions on behalf of the whole club, footy decisions, unusual for a president. You know, we're keeping Zach Merritt, which I don't think everyone was aligned with. He took his mate Dean Sullivan off the board and put him into the footy department as a senior assistant to Brad Scott. Not something Brad Scott wanted. He put his other board mate, Tim Roberts, into the position of CEO. And now he has a situation where he's got, you know, several close friends, at least 2 and potentially 3 if Dean Solomon comes on board, going for the job. I just think he finds himself. This is the well, I hate to use this term, but come to Jesus moment for the president of the Essendon Football Club.
So how much of this is because we know that there's a few people on the panel with relationships there. How much of this comes down to who Andrew Welsh wants in the position?
Very much. Although, I mean, I don't know what you think, Lee, about Kevin Muscat being part of this.
Well, I read that. Okay, I mean, those of us, I've been involved in one, you know, with the Crows about 10 years ago. It's a very imprecise thing to be trying to interview people, get a feel for them. Who would you categorise out of the 4 at Essendon? That's what Essendon are doing, trying to work out of the people. Like, one as a group, it's not. I don't think Andrew Welsh just saying, I'm going to make the choice. I mean, I'm assuming he's not anyway. But then I read that Kevin Muscat, who's the soccer coach, of course, who coached the Melbourne Victory, he's now coaching in Japan. I thought, he must be back in Australia. He's going to do a Zoom meeting from Japan with these individual candidates and give some kind of
on leadership qualities
and get some kind of feedback.
Window dressing?
No, not so much window dressing. I reckon it's sort of trying to stab with the dartboard. It's so hard. I don't know about you. I reckon look at footy clubs from the outside. I reckon Brendan Gale's a fantastic operator, and the Tasmanian operation under Brendan Gale and now Ken Hinkley's coach looks like they know what they're doing. I think Graham Wright and Chris Davies at Carlton have got that look, that they know what they're doing. The Essendon people, to me, from the outside, I mean, they eventually will have to make a decision, but how are qualified are they to make an informed decision? From the outside, I said, oh, well, good luck. If I was a coach, I wouldn't be going to Essendon.
You wouldn't be going?
No.
Well, look at how many people have pulled out of it.
Well, I'm not talking about the people.
Pulled out of the process.
So you wouldn't be going for that job?
Well, if you desperately want a job, you go for it, right? But anyone who's got choices ain't going to Essendon. And I'm saying, so the other coaches are just, they've been in for jobs, whether it's Jamie Graham, now Murray Davis, Mark McVeigh, but they've been in for jobs to a degree. But the Essendon job, they just got to get a job if they can get it. But if you've got a choice, like your sort of Hinkley, Longmire, blokes like that had, I mean, as I say, if you want to go and coach...
Buckley, Goodwin, Jim Syracuse, James Kelly...
Coach is only as good as what's around him in players and staff and support from the top. I'd love to coach under Brendan Gale. I'd be happy to coach under the CEO-ship of Graham Wright. I mean, people like that, to me, from the outside, I mean, I don't know the Essendon people as well, that well. I'm only looking from afar, but I'd have no confidence to coach under that regime.
So they brought everyone onto the panel who is within the walls. And that was one of the things that we spoke about when we found out who was going to decide on the Essendon coach, that they
Ted
hadn't
Richards,
gone...
former player, new at the club as footy director, or one of the...
they hadn't really gone for anybody external as a lot of other
Human
selection
Resources
process.
board member. The CEO who's not really a footy person.
Yep. Is that a problem?
Well, you go
Because
back.
they've brought in Kevin Muscat, who I know probably can't carry a lot of weight, but a Zoom call from Japan doesn't seem to be the solution
that's
either.
True, right? But let's go back 12 months when one of the big decisions of Zach Merritt. It seemed to be that Andrew Walsh was president. He was making the call. Like, he's president of the club. He's not in the footy department in a sense. That's the danger of being a football person in the high ends of the administration, because you think you know as much as the footy people know about things. And if it was a chairman making a categoric statement on behalf of the club, that's a bad vibe.
It was a PR thing. It was a PR thing, was it?
Well,
we're not going to allow this to happen.
But it was like, it's like the chairman of the club is making the choice on whether we let a player come or go, when he should be part of it with the football department, but not the unequivocal decision maker. Sure.
So what do you think of the names that are still in the race? Because I know you said if you're a coach, you wouldn't want to work under that regime. Would you have faith in any of these candidates, Murray Davis, Jamie Graham, Mark McVeigh or James Hurd?
No, well, James Hurd you sort of know publicly. I know Murray Davis is well regarded around the footy industry, and he was involved at the Lions for a long time. I don't know any of them well, so they're all kind of got... James Hurd's got the different background, as we know, but the others have got the background in the assistance role. And so no, I haven't got a feel for who would be good or bad about any of them, because Murray Davis is the only one I've had a little bit to do with, and that's very external when he was at the Lions.
3 or 4 weeks ago, I talked about James's lack of experience at a club in the last 12 years. He's briefly worked under Mark McVeigh when he stepped in after Leon Cameron left GWS for a few months. He directs the coaching program, I think, at a VFL club in Port Melbourne. You described that as a handbrake.
Yeah.
Do you still see that as a handbrake?
Well, it's a disadvantage. Yeah, when I say it's a handbrake, it's a disadvantage, and everyone would think that it is. To be honest, if Hurd had been an assistant coach at another club for the last 3 or 4 years, you'd think he'd probably already been appointed, probably, on all the factors that seem to be in play. No, it's not. It's not a total deal breaker, but clearly his recent experience at club level is a little bit history.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah, hello. It's Tim too. Sorry, it's not Jim. But
hey, Tim.
I think the reason what Caro was saying about Essendon, like Welsh is the president, and you've talked about Solomon and his relationship with the players. You trust people. You trust people that you know what they can do and you play football with. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I'd say when Leigh was coaching Collingwood, he probably got people there, whether he played with them or not, who he knew, who he trusted, and, he had success.
Yeah, but I think it's difficult when you've put your faith in Brad Scott as senior coach, and at the end of last season, Tim, Brad still had 2 years to run on his contract, and Brad was told that Dean Solomon was coming off the board to work in his footy department as a senior assistant coach. Brad said on the agenda setters after Essendon sacked him that he went along with the decision over merit because it was a club decision, but he didn't think that should have happened. Now, the club has a different version of this event, but both those things are massive red flags to me. If the president's coming in and doing these things over your head, it's hard to believe, really, knowing all that now, that Brad came into this season without a hope. Now, maybe you think it was right that they sacked him, but I don't think those things should be solely decided by the president. I don't. And, to add to that, you've got Craig Vozzo, who left, pretty shell-shocked after the whole Zach Merritt business, and now he's come back to be a consultant as to how to run a proper footy department. I mean, it looks bonkers to me from the outside.
Yeah, it is. And Tim's interesting. I think you might appoint someone you know well because you already know them well. The problem is, for people you don't know well, you're depending on how they seem to come across. And importantly, anyone who asks me about prospective coaching, I just say to them, try and get an honest opinion of people who've worked with them and around them. An honest opinion, not just how is he good bloke, all that kind of stuff. Because that's the key element. The presentation part of it, I think, is not a waste of time, but it's not a great guide. But actually, sort of the people who have worked with these people in and around the football industry, getting an honest view of them is the most critical factor, I think, in making an informed judgment in due course.